what age should I go for egg freezing? And what is the approximate cost, and the best place to consider this option? Is Saima an option over here? I'm unmarried and 31 and want to look at all the process. Is it legal for someone who's single?
Yes, it is. It is very much. I think fortunately, as far as females are concerned, single women can have a child. They only need a sperm. Whereas as far as males, single males, they need a sperm, egg and a uterus.
Yes.
So getting both, that is difficult. So single women can have a child. Leave alone egg freezing, they can have a child with donor sperm.
Yes.
It is a legal treatment that they can follow. Now, with regards to egg freezing, I would say an ideal age to do that. See, the best egg quality is somewhere between less than 32 years.
32 years.
Yeah, it's less than 32 years is the best egg quality. Okay. After that, it will keep coming down. But then the major challenge is a lot of people are not thinking about egg freezing when they are 32. So I would say 34, 35, again, we can look at that as a relatively better age before which they can freeze their eggs. Otherwise, egg freezing is option. Nowadays, egg freezing, see, it is not a technology that social egg freezing, the basic idea that you want to freeze your eggs for a later use of yours, that is still just catching up in India, which is, otherwise it's very popular in the abroad, and I think it's picking up quite well in the metros.
Yes.
Here we do have a couple of patients, but not to the tune of what we see there or what is reported from the metros like Delhi, Bombay, where they have a lot of these women who go in for oocyte freezing.
Oh, there is?
Yeah, there the number of, because there we have more women, individual professionals who probably are well aware. There are companies around the world who actually offer oocyte freezing as a part of an incentive to the doctors, just like Apple. Apple does that for its employees. Egg freezing is a part of their incentive that they give.
But that's brilliant, isn't it?
Yeah, because I think it's a very tactical move in the sense that they can have them work throughout, that they don't want them to go for maternity, look after the child, because getting pregnant is just not about getting pregnant. See, I think there's a very interesting interview by Indra Nouri that your professional career and your maternal thing unfortunately are at the same time. So there is some compromise on either of the one that you want to.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The timing is always
wrong. So that is the exact time that you are actually doing very well professionally, and then at that point of time, your effort to get pregnant, going through that pregnancy, having a toddler, bringing up a child is not a small thing.
Yes, it is.
So that is a major pressure on a lot of these
it's a commitment,
people. So for them, if they have these people, they know that their eggs are safe and they're frozen and kept, they'll tend to work much longer. Probably, I think that's the whole idea. But yes, egg freezing, but one genuine use of egg freezing, I wouldn't say this is not genuine, but otherwise very genuine reason for egg freezing is, especially in cancer patients. They realize that they have some form of cancer, they need to go in for chemotherapy. Because any kind of chemotherapy, breast or whatever, any kind of radiotherapy, chemotherapy and all those things can actually reduce oocyte. Number of eggs are reduced because of that. So that is a very genuine and a very definite reason to freeze their eggs before they do go the treatment. Even a lot of people don't know about it. It is being I think the oocyte cryopreservation, or it's got a very specific word. I don't remember at this point of time. Like cancer patients freezing their gametes. Like I'll tell you that particular word. So especially in men or boys who are found to have some cancer, they're going for chemotherapy, radiotherapy, they end up coming and giving the sperm, freezing them. We have so many number of that samples with us. And similarly, oocyte cryopreservation. When females are undergoing this treatment, we freeze their eggs before they go for a chemotherapy, so that once the chemotherapy is over, whether it is male or female, we'll see if their eggs formation is still okay. If things are still okay, we don't really need to keep it frozen again. But then if something happens to the oocyte following the chemotherapy, we can always rely on the backup. So that is a very important reason to use oocyte cryopreservation.
That is important because you don't know about health factors, right? You can't predict that.
Because unlike earlier, your life expectancy is increased following all these diseases. You end up, you know that you end up doing a chemotherapy, you end up doing a lot of these surgeries and things like that. You are able to survive much longer. So when you are able to survive much longer, your opportunity to become mother or opportunity to become a father is always there. So you can always freeze the gametes, sperms or eggs. And I don't know if you are aware, we had a very interesting case. There's a boy who came in with cancer. We froze the sperm, and another 6 or 7 months down the lane, the parents came in asking for the sperm. Okay, boy died. They said that they want to use that sperm to have. They said they will get another wife, and but we were not sure whether that is something that is possible under the law. And we said that, we understand your mental, emotional status, but then I said, as long as you can give me an order from the court, we will not fight against it in the court. As long as you give me a permission from the court that I hand over the sperm to you, I will do it. But I will not fight against you, saying that I will not say that no, I should not give it to the person. And actually the court ruled in their favor, and actually what happened is they got the sperm. Now, but then what do they do with that sperm? Now they need to have a wife. Now they don't have a wife. They should get an oocyte, they should get a surrogate mother, and they are very poor patients. But then there so much of desire to make sure that their son lives with that sperm that was frozen was so much deep. And actually I've kept that sperm here free for them, and I'm sure that I don't know whether they will, I really doubt whether they will ever be able to come back and utilize that sperm for getting him, because we need again a donor egg, we need a surrogate mother, which are all very expensive.
There's a whole other process to it.
All other process, but then which is a very expensive process, and I'm sure they were not able to afford it. Yes. It was made into a movie by, I think, Sangeet Shivan, and it quite, yeah, it did. It was, I think it was covered in the New York Times, is where Sangeet Shivan read about it, and he came and he took an interview, and then he made that movie. But I'm just trying to tell you, like, these are how things in world work when you're talking about oocyte, because we are always focused majorly on that social egg freezing. Social egg freezing is like just for ourselves we are freezing it. But yes, that is important. I'm not saying it's not important, but there are so many other important reasons to freeze eggs. Yeah. Social egg freezing, like I said, yes, 32 years below is the most ideal age, if you could tell me. But yes, let's look at 34, 35. Beyond 35, again the oocyte quality becomes lesser. Yeah. I would rather say get married faster and try and have a child is probably my advice to them. But
you're
yes,
sounding very much like my mother right now, doctor.
No, that's what a lot of my friends are, like, kind of people who are not in my field. Yes. They always, like, they see me, they run around, like kind of my classmates who don't have children at this point. And they say, like, they're like my age guys, and females are also like 2-3 years. And I said, what are you doing? Are you roaming around without doing anything? Or I said, see, the thing is that you realize that, whether it is their hesitance to ask you for help, because it's not about the money, or we are ready to help anybody who needs that opportunity to understand. See, it's not about doing the treatment. Sometimes you need to tell them the right way it is done, and do it wherever it is.
The knowledge is not there, that's lacking, right?
Yeah, that's what, that people are not aware of these possibilities.
Yes.
Now, a lot of times when I said the sperm freezing and things like that, you know how many people have done chemotherapy without freezing the sperm and lost their full sperm?
Yes.
Because that they do not know. See, at that point of time, they are not in the mental this thing that realize that they have a cancer, they have to go to a chemotherapy. They are not thinking about these things.
They're not thinking about the future. They're thinking about now.
But then once, as a doctor or somebody, as their oncologist or somebody who kind of tell them that, so that it's picking up. Like I said, still we do end up getting a lot of patients, but still I feel there are still a lot of patients who are missed, who are not freezing the sperm or who are not freezing their egg. So like I said, 32 years. The later, I wouldn't say no, but again, the oocyte quality diminishes as your age goes by.
So 25 plus, you would say, is a great.
Yeah, but 25. See, now, like, say, if you ask me 25 to 30, I would rather say don't be in a hurry to freeze eggs.
Yeah.
Because I did have 2 young girls who came up when they were 29 or something like that. Mm-hmm. I said, when are you planning to get married? Or like, how is that in your agenda? Like another 1 or 2 years. And I said, fine, you get married. And
but what about people who do not want to settle down? Because there are so many who don't the requirement of having a partner, settling down, in marriage-wise, that's not something. Lifestyle is definitely changing right now. People's perception about marriage is changing right now. You're seeing a lot of youngsters, even ladies who 30 plus, they just want to have a live-in partner. So if they are 25 and they've got that mindset, they can't come and freeze.
Yes, we can.
Yeah.
See, I'm not saying that we not do it, but I would always say if they, because again 25 to 28 and all is still a little younger, and probably they are not in the right frame of mind at that point to decide. So what I always tell them is that we can always do it. There's no harm in doing it.
Yeah.
There's no harm.
Yeah.
It can be done. But whether you really need it is the question. Whether now that she's at 25 and then she's getting at 28, she's getting married and she's planning to have a child, then actually
true. But the option is there.
The option is always there. Yeah, and I wouldn't deny that option to anybody. Always somebody comes, I'll ask them like see it's like, I'm not talking in a very commercial point of view, like say
more like a counseling point of view.
I always tell them that, see, are you sure you want the only people I'm little worried about who kind of delay is the people with endometriosis and all.
Yes.
I said, please get married, please have a child first, later we can think about.
So they also have this option of freezing.
Yes,
then,
they
right?
have this option of
so
freezing.
So doctor, what's the process? I mean, is this very difficult?
See, I would say it is very similar to your regular stimulation.
Is it?
It is. You have to go through this whole process of a regular IVF stimulation because the whole idea is to produce more number of eggs. Take those eggs and freeze them. Now, I told you that initial calculation that you get 10, 15 of it, 5, 8, 9 are good quality, then 8, 9 will become embryos, then 5, 6 will be top quality embryos. So, we'll have to look at say 10, 12 eggs and we have to freeze them, so that we know that ultimately when you are doing a treatment for them, we at least have 5, 6 or 4, 5 embryos.
Yeah.
So, and like I said, oocyte today it is reasonably more commonly done. Earlier it is more technically challenging to do an oocyte freezing. So whenever given a choice, we'll always freeze embryos, because like we were talking, when you have a husband for sure and you know that this is the person with whom I want to have a child, at that point of time, yes, having that sperm and making it an embryo and freezing it is always much stabler than just freezing an oocyte. But if you're not sure of your husband, or if you're not sure of the person with whom you want to have a child with, at that point of time, freezing an oocyte is an option.
Okay, and the process is how long actually?
It is actually till I think almost similar to, like I said, depending on the protocol that we follow. Some people we can even start it on the second or third day of the cycle, daily injections. Once the eggs are ready, take it out, just like how we are doing the IVF. Take the egg out, freeze it instead of doing anything.
And how long can you freeze?
It can be frozen for any number of years.
Really?
All these freezing. See, the thing is that as long as we are able to maintain that freeze that cylinder and the liquid nitrogen and things like that work is done. Okay. Whether you freeze it for 1 month, you freeze it for 10 years, or you freeze it for 15 years, it does not. So you can actually freeze it for long term. But the ICMR, the Indian Council of Medical Research, is now coming up saying that you cannot freeze these gametes. Gametes are embryos beyond, like say 10 years or 7 or 10 years. So it's still not fully come in. But I think we can easily. Technically you can freeze it for any number of years as long as you're able to maintain
and
it.
this is something that is facilities available at
Yes,
Sun.
yes, it is very available.
And
it's
what
very much
is the
available.
approximate cost of this?
Your regular stimulation and that ICSI charges and all will not be there. Otherwise, like say, I think around 65,000 rupees means we are removing that ICSI charges, all those things. We will be freezing those embryos and keeping, plus the medicines and all those things. So about, I would say somewhere around 1.5, less than between 1 and 1.5.
1 and 1.5.
Yes.
Is this including the fee of every yearly?
No, every yearly we have an additional charge because we need
every
to keep
year to
correct,
keep freezing.
freezing. Means,
okay.
But then that will be very would not be very lump sum amount, like say 50-60,000 rupees for a whole year. It will be something like that.
50-60,000
rupees per year.
Per year. And what happens when that is not put to good use?
See, the only option is we give that decision to the patient as to whether we need to discard it or later on. See, like I said earlier also, just because they have frozen eggs does not mean that they get married and they run coming to us and do an IVF with that frozen eggs. They can always try normally, see if things happen simply. If not, they reach a point that they have to do an IVF. At that point of time, they come, we can take these eggs. You don't have to stimulate them again.
Yeah,
because we already have this thing with us.
Right.
You don't have to stimulate them again. and use those eggs. So you have much younger eggs of theirs. So the possibility of getting pregnant will be much higher than when they are older.
And is there any legal matter,
No,
like if
it
it is
is
someone who is a citizen from, you know,
No,
and they
that,
want
for
to,
egg freezing there is
there's
nothing.
nothing. No.
Only a law as of now is for pertaining to surrogacy. We cannot use surrogacy for any foreign patients or people who are not Indian citizens. So NRIs can, but I think OCI or all those people cannot use surrogacy. But otherwise, infertility treatment per se, we can do it for any person wherever, whichever country they come from.